This is Adamantly Analog, episode 48. This week, we're talking about the GoldenGeek nominees and Civolution. Hey, welcome to Adamantly Analog. I'm Corey, your host, and...
Whoa, Corey, this is Harrison, your other host. That was a new opening. You just totally twisted it up on me.
Yep. I realized I use the same cadence every time we do this, and I was actively trying to change it up today just to catch you off guard, and apparently it worked, huh? Anyways, Harrison, we have seen each other in the flesh. We have played games with each other at the same table.
And Nikki and Lauren, we had a regular game day.
Yes,
it was wonderful. It was great.
Yeah. And there's a lot of board game things going on because not only that event happened in our world, but also the GoldenGeek nominees have been announced, and we're going to talk about them because we love board games.
This is true. And for those that are not in the know, sometimes like myself, maybe, how would you describe the GoldenGeek Awards? What are the GoldenGeeks?
You're putting me on the spot. Why don't you do it?
Gee, Corey, it sounds like you don't know. No, I'm just kidding. So the GoldenGeeks are Board Game Geeks, the website, boardgamegeek.com. Their crowd-sourced popular vote for Board Game of the Year in different categories for releases in the past year. And I think they're a little bit flexible on what they'll accept for actual release date for some of those. But it's mainly people submit the games that they think are noteworthy for each of a given category, and then the top 10 are revealed, and they're currently live as of recording. It looks like they're going to be live for a couple more weeks. So if you are if you've bought something on Board Game Geek or paid Geek Gold, they're like premium currency, you can vote. And the voting is just, hey, in each of the categories, rank these 10 games from first to 10, first to worst. And then they'll use some math algorithm thing and kick out the results, and then those games will be considered the Golden Geeks. So it's a little bit community driven, a little bit of a ceremony to it. But yeah, so it's kind of like an award show, right? The long-winded version of that.
Harrison, that was a great description. I'm glad you did that and not me.
Cool. I hope I am right. Hey.
No, you are. And you're right that it's open for a little while longer. It goes until the start of May. I think it's the 3rd it closes. In any case, you might as well just get online and do it right now.
If we were real podcasters and had computers in front of us instead of, doing whatever we're doing right now, we could go on to the website and say that your votes are recorded immediately and may be changed until the voting time closes at 11:59 p.m. CST, May 4th, 2024 or 2025. Whoa. I can't even read off of a screen.
Well, it's confusing because the games we're voting on are 2024 games, so I understand what your brain is doing right now. Now, thank you for taking me back with this, because I refer to BGG and BGA all the time, and I feel like most board gamers are familiar with BGG and BGA, Board Game Geek and Board Game Arena. However, if I were listening and I was constantly hearing references to this acronym, I would probably get frustrated. So this really is the Bible of board game stuff. It is the ratings of how heavy and how complicated games are. It is descriptions and comments about people's opinions on those games. Tons of information. It's kind of like the wiki of board games, but also a place where you can go and buy board games, sell board games, engage in the forums on those games, and share files related to those games. In fact, I just put one up there for our innovation dividers that I put into Photoshop.
Those were nice dividers. I saw them.
Well, thank you. It took me a really long time to do that, I have to say. And they're these tiny little squares that just point to where the expansions go in the box. But quality of life improvement in a big way. Anyways, that's not what we're here to talk about. So, Harrison, what was it like to come to my house and play board games with us?
Well, first of all, I had to drive there. Not a big fan of driving. I've only been driving for about 10 years. I don't know if you know that. When you and I first met, I didn't have a driver's license. Yeah.
I do remember that. Yeah. I do remember that.
Yeah.
You're doing great, Harrison.
Thanks, Corey. I got there and back. Yep.
Yeah.
So it was a drive. No, it was a good time. We played board games, we had soup, we got to pet Scout. It was great.
Cool. Yeah, Scott was happy to see you guys for sure. We got a lot played. What did we do? We did Innovation Ultimate. We played right off
Yep.
the bat. We played some Citizens of the Spark. We played
Yep.
Arapa Mine, and we played Next Station London.
Yeah, next station London.
And we finally got Hansa Toots to the table,
Yep.
Hansa Teutonica.
Yep, good
So
old Hansi Tootsie.
I have to know. I've been talking about Hansa Toots since the beginning of this podcast, and I need to know what you thought of that. And be brutally honest with me, Harrison.
Uh have you played Council of Four? Is that one of the ones that you've played?
No.
Okay. It's a CMON game from a handful of years ago. I almost just reprinted it. Um
Yeah.
it, it felt, looking at the board and hearing the rules, I thought it was going to be very similar in feel to that. And obviously, Hansi Teutonica came out much later.
Yeah.
Or much earlier, sorry. Came out much earlier. Council of Four later. I I thought it was going to be very similar because it's like you're building routes on the board. There's a little bit of area control element, a couple different goals pulling you in different ways,
Hmm.
and it ended up being a lot crunchier than I thought it was going to be. Uh,
Yeah.
just that the decisions were, I don't know. It was more. There's a lot more going on than I thought there was going to be for what it is.
Hmm.
It took me a little bit to like get into the groove of it, but it was cool. I'd play it again.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I take that as a very lukewarm initial impression with some room for improvement. So,
Yeah, I'm not like, "Oh my god, I gotta play that again," but also, like, I'm glad I've played it, and I would play it again.
yeah,
I think
it's one of those games that has a lot of stuff happening in it that you can't quite explore from the first play. And I come back to it only once every 6 months, so I really haven't gotten past that first play kind of feel with it. But I still like it a lot, and I know that there's something there that keeps me coming back.
yeah, I was definitely keyed into the, let's just get 5 actions right away, so, just
Yeah.
quick overview, you do, uh, some number of actions on your turn, and everything is driven by your board in front of you, which has little cubes which you can take off or whatever they are, and then that improves those actions, so you can get a more number of actions or, more refreshes if you're, like, taking income, putting more guys out, moving them around, whatever.
Hmm.
But one of those is just get an extra action on your turn. So you start off by having 2, and eventually you can upgrade it to get 5. And I'm just like, well, obviously the action economy is the most important part, so I just went really hard on that.
Hmm.
And I, based on how close the scores were at the end of the game, I don't think that is 100% required.
No,
But
you're totally right about that.
yeah, because I was like, okay, so I didn't invest in the income action, so I was spending net more actions per over the course of the game compared to like you or Lauren or Nikki who actually did improve that action. So I was only getting like 3 or 5 where you guys were getting 5 or 7. Um,
Yeah.
so it balances out to a degree, but I still think you want to find that happy middle ground of like bumping them up a couple times.
Yes, and I think that's the like go to. I think most games you're thinking, oh well, more actions equals more power. But
Yeah.
if each individual action can be more effective, then you don't need
Hmm.
as many. But I think what happens with this game is it creates a little meta within the game. And if the table decides that they're all going to fight over the extra actions, then someone else can go off on the other parts of the map and start to get the other things, the other upgrades, all without interruption.
Oh
And
yeah.
so a lot of time and resources get invested in the interaction in this game because you have to boop the other player's pieces out of your way by spending extra pieces of your own. And so you're at a loss when you do that. And that could just keep going back and forth. And you can't really, you could be not accomplishing anything very fast that way.
I feel
Um,
like we were pretty polite. Like there were
we
plenty of
were.
opportunities where we could have just aggressively bumped people to get in their way. Like if I was if I was about to get something, my next turn, you could have actively spent guys to make me spend more
Right, right.
after the fact. But that feels like it is less effective, with a higher player count too. Because then
Yeah.
it's like, oh, okay, we're both shooting ourselves in the feet, so other people can get an advantage.
Yeah, and like I said, this was like first play for most people at the game. So,
Yeah.
having played this 3 or 4 more times with the same group, I think it would get much more cutthroat, and we'd be
Yeah.
much more aware of the strategies people are trying to employ, and interacting a
Yeah.
little bit more on that front. But there you go.
I
I'm
can see
glad
the
glad we got
appeal.
it played.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Okay.
Well, let me counter that back at you. What did you think of Citizens of the Spark?
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. So I have to say I need to play this game more, but I'm gonna try my best to describe this, Harrison, and please chime in if I make any missteps, because this is not a very long game. So our experience with it was pretty short. I think we got it done in under an hour, probably even under 40 minutes. Does that sound right?
I can tell you because I time all my gameplays now
Oh, do
because
you really?
I'm
Okay.
just that kind of guy. So I will.
Okay.
It was a good habit to get into. I timed us at 37 minutes.
Okay, so there you go. So it's pretty fast, and that was the learning game. Eh, when you play this game, this is a card tableau building game, and when you play this game, you take different decks from the box, which is a big collection of all of these decks of different creatures, and you shuffle them all together into one core deck. And that setup is suggested by the rule book, and I think there's a couple of different setups that are basically designed to give you a different kind of experience. If you want something that's like heavy interaction or a little more solitaire or a little more resource based, there's something like that for each of those scenarios. So far, good?
Yeah. Yep. Yep. I put a lot of work into to putting those ones on there.
Okay. And I think that's a really cool way to do it, because I'm thinking like it reminds me of Ethnos and the fact that the box has a lot to offer, and it's kind of fun to explore the different combinations of those things. It's good to have a starting space because I can see where the interactions between creatures matter a lot in this one. You probably could just shuffle a bunch together randomly and just see what happens, right?
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So we did the starting one, which is my guess is the kind of like basic introduction to most of the different mechanics in this game. Um, and what happens is you take that deck that you've created and you put 3 rows of 3 cards each. And does that change based on the player count?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we had 4 players, so we did 3 rows of 3 cards each. And on your turn, what you're doing is you're simply drafting one of those 3 rows of 3 cards into your tableau, and then adding value to the ones you don't take so that they become juicier for other players. And the only currency in this game really is just sparks. It's points, right? So
Mhm.
so those are points that you put on those cards, and you gain points by doing most of the abilities. So once you take 3 cards into your tableau, you get to choose one of your creatures and activate that card and then discard it. Most of these effects are like gaining points based on the number of other symbols, like tags that show up in your tableau, or maybe comparing your tags to other people's tags, or all sorts of different variations on tags and types of creatures and number in your stack and number of different types of creatures you have. And then finally, what happens is the players around the table get to follow if they have the same kind of creature in their tableau by discarding one of theirs too. How'd I do?
Yeah. The only gripe I have is that they're citizens of the city,
Okay.
not creatures. They
Yeah.
are.
No,
Yeah.
that's fair.
You got it. Yeah, you got
I
it.
I'm like notorious for like mixing up words and terms for the things in the games, because my mind has a whole different story going on from whatever the game's trying to tell. But this was a lot of fun. It has a lot of really cool things that I want to explore deeper. I don't think I can really say too much about the game right now because it was just that initial play. And there's so much more in the box, but the core idea of it felt a lot like Ethnos to me, in that it is that, kind of like trying to figure out how to use one certain ability with the other ones that happen to show up in that game. And I like that
Mhm.
a lot. It's pretty quick and snappy. It's pretty easy to learn. The synergies come to you fast and without much effort. So I think for players that don't have a lot of experience with these types of things, it's sort of neat to get into it and get your hands on it and say, "Oh, cool! I already found something that I can kind of combo out with." So I'm looking for this creature or citizen, and I'm looking for this citizen. So that was really fun. I think the initial setup didn't do much to reward going wide as far as like having lots of different citizens. And it felt like a lot of the things that you were doing were just finding a certain symbol and like going hard after that one symbol or tag, if that makes any sense. I
Mhm.
don't know if you found that, Harrison.
Yeah, it's more that there's going wide means that you have more options to adapt. I think Nikki pointed it out, like that it's
Mhm.
if you have more guys, you're more likely to be able to follow people and be more flexible in what you do. But the powerful actions come from having a lot of a single character. So it's the tension is like, do you want to go wide so you can do more things that are weaker, or do you want to try to build up to those big powerful actions and score a ton of points in bigger punches?
Yeah, and that's a key point I kinda left out of the description, which is that the more citizens you have in your stack, the better their effects are, and there's a chart on the bottom of almost every card, it seems, where if you have a stack of 3, the multiplier is higher for whatever you're trying to do with it. Is that fair?
Yeah, level 3. Yeah, I'll go up to
So
3. So if you got 1 copy, you just do level 1. If you got 2, you can do level 2, and then if you got 3, you can do 1, 2, or 3.
yeah. In initial impression, in any case, I think the biggest thing this game has to offer right now is to give you that sort of combo-y tableau building feel in like under 40 minutes, which I think is really sweet because that's something that it takes a lot of time to chase in other cases, Terraforming Mars, Arc Nova, for example. And this is just
Mhm.
like a lightning fast-paced version of that where it's like, hey, let's just cram this one in real quick. And it can still be fun and give you those same kinds of dopamine hits of boom combo. So
Yeah.
I like that.
It gave me, like, when I was first introduced to it years ago, when it was still, like, just rough art prototypes and stuff, it was the feeling that I got from the first time playing Dominion, where here is this set of cards, and I've got to try to figure out how to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, where I am on my gamer journey, uh, Dominion is less exciting because a lot of those states are solvable. You have all the information in front of you. So the twist here is, yes, you're still playing with a random subset of cards from the box, but now those are coming at you in random sets where you don't know if you can actually pursue the strategy you think is best with these cards. You
Mhm.
have to just kind of adapt to what's available to you.
Yeah. So this one I should say is yet to be released. It has been backed and is fulfilling to backers. What we're talking like late summer, right?
We just sent out a backer email right now, or today, yesterday morning. Yeah,
Yep. I
just
got I
sent one
got it
out.
today.
Yep.
Yep.
So it is on its way, and I hope the tariffs go away before it gets
Yeah.
here. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
Wizards
And
is committed to fulfilling that, so we're gonna yum 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 all those tariffs if they're still there, and so you guys can get your games.
And to translate that, I will just mention that that backer email has basically states that that Thunderworks is willing to cover those tariffs without asking for more money from the
Mhm.
backers. And then there's an option to plug their tip jar if they're still around when things are shipped.
We'll see what the final bill. We don't actually have a tip jar right now, so don't try to give us money yet. If you want to give us money, go to our website and buy stuff. Just directly there. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
So
things are
anyway,
moving so fast and changing so quickly. It's like, yeah, let's see what happens next week. Right?
it is crazy. It is
Yeah.
crazy.
Cool. All right. Well, yeah. We'll come back to that one for sure after I have that one in my hands and get to play it a few more times. But thanks for bringing it. I did like it a lot. So cool game, amazing art, a great developer. I like that guy.
Little biased.
Yeah. And then we did play Arapa Mine, and I just will be really brief on that one because we've talked about it on the podcast before, but I have not played it myself. And this is the deduction game where you are trying to shoot lasers into the earth to locate some different colored and shaped mine materials is what I'm trying to say. And we're looking at like squares and triangles and like little trapezoids and things that are hidden on the clue giver's shield or behind the clue giver's shield, I should say. And your job is to fire a laser down a path and find out how the light refracts, what color it changes to, and where it comes out. And then you deduce where those objects are located in your own grid as you do that. And when this was first described to me, I was like, how in the hell am I going to do this? It just felt like this insurmountable task. It was like, there's no way I'm going to get enough information from this. But it really did come through like really quickly. And I made a guess very early on where I felt like I actually knew it within like 5, 6 clues. and I realized there was a pretty big flaw in my guess, and I had one piece in the wrong spot. But aside from that, I was shocked and surprised at how it really did come to life, and I thought that was really pretty smart game.
Yeah, it is a really cool concept. The execution is a little bit rough sometimes, and I think part of that's just like the translation and uh, from this game's from Korea, right? But
Yep.
they are putting it on BGA now, Board Game Arena now, so hopefully more
Mhm.
folks will get to try it, and we'll see what happens with the game after that.
Yeah, and the one thing I'll mention this because as you were describing it, Harrison, this was kind of like a blind spot in my understanding of this. The way that those pieces sit on the grid, they actually have grid lines drawn on top of them, so they can only be oriented in certain ways on that grid. Because when I was picturing, I was just thinking like you're just dropping these triangles on here, and they're just kind of sitting willy nilly on there. But it's
No,
very specific about how they are affected by the lasers and how the lasers will bounce off of them. So I think that makes it much more playable.
they're saving that for
Yeah.
Arapa Mine 2, and that Arapa Mine 2 comes with a like a protractor and drafting tools and stuff because you got to do lasers and yeah. Cool.
Nice.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. It was a fun time.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about this one. What'd you
Yeah.
play yesterday?
So yeah. So I got a chance to play Stefan Feld's new game Civolution, and I sent you like a picture of this right before we started the game. I was like, so it begins.
Yeah.
Of just like the basic setup of the game, and I read the rules beforehand. The owner of the game read the rules and watched a video, and then we played. Our third player was someone who's played it twice before. So we from like sit down, set up to finish teardown was 3 hours for us because we did like a very quick like rules refresher to make sure we were all on the same page.
Okay. That seems really
And
fast. Good job.
yeah, like for 3 players, I was expecting it to be that much playtime wise.
Mm.
Everything considered, so it went pretty snappy. I think that I it took me about halfway through the game before I just kind of had this aha moment of this is not a Euro game. I cannot treat this like a Euro game.
Right.
This is a sandbox civilization game
Yeah.
w- crammed into a Stefan Feld almost impersonating Vitalis Serta spreadsheet. Like there's so much going on there, and it mechanically and mathematically it feels like it's all super sound, but it is trying to paint a picture and tell a story with just this absolute wild theme of like you're a demigod computer thing doing a test, and your test is to raise a civilization, and that civilization could have gills or trunks or clocks or, or something wild.
Mhm.
It's all over the place. It's super weird. And after I kind of had that click, I stopped with the AP. I was just like, okay, you know what? I don't care anymore. I'm going to pick an objective and I'm just going to work towards it. And that was a lot more enjoyable than like trying to figure out what my best options are or trying to min max it.
Mhm.
So if I ever play the game again or teach it, I'm gonna say like, hey everybody, this is not a Euro game. We are not trying to think of it less in terms of like how can you score the most points and more of pick a thing you want to do, try to do the thing, and trust that the game designer and the balance and everything is in line with translating what you want to do into points.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a good way to put it. It's more like a civilization themed video game than anything where you really can just kind of explore a route and just keep going down that path and see where it
Yeah,
leads.
it was really weird. We none of us drew a card the entire game. All those research cards.
Really?
Yeah. It was super weird. It was just like one guy went really big on procreation, so just getting a bunch of dudes on the board.
Yeah.
Um I my opening we did like the open draft or the draft-ish sort of starting hands instead of the basic ones, which I think was a mistake. I think we should have done the basic ones. But I
Mhm.
happened to have two cards that rewarded me for hunting. So I only had like two or three guys the entire game, but I was just hunting everywhere, and every time I hunted, I got a buttload of food and gold and a bunch of points. So it was yeah, it was a cool like I felt like I was guiding this tribe of noble hunter warrior people because I was like really high on the prestige track and then nothing else either.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
um it tells a cool story and almost reaches that emergent storytelling level, but with a bit too much just fluff and
Euro.
stuff in the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was neat. I want to play it again.
I think neat's a good way to put it. I don't wanna say I hated this game, but I didn't like it the first time. But that with the asterisk representing that I would be willing to give it another shot and wouldn't be surprised if my opinion changed on it. It just felt like it was pushed too far in the Euro direction, and I get that there's a lot of things they're trying to convey with the civilization theme, but there's just, like, shit everywhere. It's just it's like, I don't know, it's too much, and I like heavy and complex games, but I like heavy and complex games that can tie things together, and this one, it's just it gives you a headache looking at it. There's just seriously, there's stuff everywhere.
The
But
biggest hang up I had was just I know what I want to do.
mhm,
Where is the thing that tells me how to do it? Like
yeah,
I spent the most time just looking at my board and trying to figure out which dice I needed to use and if I could if I had those dice.
mhm,
The actual like executing an action, the turns are super snappy. I imagine that people have played this 2, 3, 4 times can play it very quickly.
mhm,
The 3 hour time on the box is for the average first experience. So you're setting expectations.
yeah. The hook of rolling dice and then seeing which action you can do with them remains in here, and it feels very similar to Castles of Burgundy, because it's like, okay, sometimes it can go the way you want, and the numbers that roll are going to be exactly what you're looking for, and sometimes you have to spend some kind of resource that allows you to change those dice. There are times where you get to the end of your round, like your final turns in that round where you have the fewest dice left and it narrows your scope of what you can do. And from my one play, I'll remind you, there's only one play. I felt like that was just miserable. And every time I got to that point, I was like, well, I can do this action, but it literally gives me like crap right now. It's just like
Mhm.
so unnecessary. So I was really struggling with that part of the game, and I again I'm willing to try it again and find out that it was just a player problem and not the game problem because I didn't have enough experience with it. But did you feel that at all?
Um, yeah, there were a couple of turns where I had the dice left to do exactly one action, but that action did not push me towards anything that I wanted to do.
Hmm.
But I think that I was focused too much in the Euro mindset of like, okay, this is my action plan. I have to kind of work towards this in the long term. I think I need to be more flexible in, kind of doing what I can with what I've got. Yeah. Did you buy a copy of this game?
No, no. We went to our board game cafe. We took it off the
Okay.
shelf, and then we started watching a video on how to play it and set it up. And we were it took us like 5 hours.
God.
Yeah.
Lots of coffee.
Yeah, I mean, we knew what we were getting into. We ordered a pizza and everything. Yeah, it was fun.
Well, invite me next time. That sounds great.
Yeah, you gotta come. We gotta take you out to that place next time you come into town. We're not playing at my house. We're going to board game. Oh my god, what's that? What's the place
Board
called?
game barristers?
No, it's not board game embarrassed. I'm embarrassed. Beyond the board. I'm sorry. I just
Okay.
like mind fart. We haven't been there in a while. Beyond the board. Um, yeah, that's the place you pay $10 to get in. You can play all day long, and you just take one of their 400 games down off the shelf and learn it. It's really amazing.
Sounds like a great time.
Okay, we need to move on. It's time to talk about the Golden Geek. Okay, so I don't think we have any first player role for this one because the plan is we're just going to kind of blast through some of these categories and give our thoughts on our what our pick would be. Of course, we haven't played all of these games. I don't know anyone who has. I think that's one of the problems with the voting system, but that's a whole nother conversation. But there are lots of different focus areas for the Golden Geeks. Some of them are way beyond what we know about.
The categories were 2-player games, artwork and presentation, cooperative games, expansions, innovative games, light game of the year, medium game of the year, heavy game of the year, party game, print and play, solo game, thematic game, war game, and then best podcast and best board game app. So lots of categories.
Hmm.
We've already talked your ear off, so we're not going to touch all of them because
Right.
it's not what we're not interested in all of them.
Yeah.
I think that's what Corey's getting at.
Yeah.
Uh, There are two categories that remind me that I want to explore them more, and I just haven't. And that's the print and play category and the solo game category.
Yeah, right on. Me too.
Yeah, I really want to get into those. Like, there's a couple games, or there's one game that appears on both of them. Forage, a 9 card solitaire game. I have the physical version of this game, Forage. It's like a solo dice and card game that it's just in this tiny little box. I picked it up for like $5 at a sale or something, or a board game flea market,
Hmm.
and it's super enjoyable. I like it. It's not the same game, but it's the same like theme and artwork and stuff. So I'm very interested in checking it out. Yeah, print and play games and solo games, especially the overlap of those two going into the scary world of tariffs. That's probably a cool place. So this is probably, if these are what the community says are the top of those categories, probably worth checking out.
Yeah, I'm curious. Like, does this imply that these games are free, or I mean, print and play?
They're usually not.
Okay.
So there is, I'm gonna forget the name of one of them now. Let me see if I can find it. Um, yeah, Postmark Games. So Postmark Games is a I think this designer Matthew Dunstan.
Mhm.
He just does like print and play games, and Postmark Games website is all their games are $5, and you pay the $5. They email you a link with all the PDFs, and that link is active for 30 days. And you just download the game, and then it's yours. And you can print
Hmm.
it, you can play it. I have a couple of them that I bought because I thought it was a cool idea, and then I forgot to play them, and then I forgot that they existed because they're not on my shelf. So that is the downside of a print and play game.
Yeah.
But yeah, they usually do cost some money. Not all of them, but sometimes.
Yeah, I have a few print and plays, and they are difficult to keep on the shelf because they're awkward. It's just paper and plastic bags and stuff. So I don't get those played very often because I'm not often thinking about them. They're just lodged into a folder somewhere. So I love the idea, and like you said, you want to explore it more. I certainly do too. I think there's a lot of cool stuff happening in those worlds, and it's a good way to get the word out on an idea before you start to really invest in the physical production of that idea. And I've seen some really cool print and plays go to kickstarting and crowdfunding so that they can make those physical productions.
And that is not to say that like print and play games are less than published games that you can
Oh
go to the
no,
store and buy and stuff like
no.
that. It can be a pipeline, but print and play games experiences are full experiences. So if you're ever like on the fence about it, don't think that you're getting a lesser experience just because you printed it off your own printer,
Oh right.
or and you're using dice from another game. Like they are legitimately cool experiences too.
Oh, I mean, if you know anything about board game people, we find a way to make things deluxeified, even if it's just printed off of our printer. So sometimes we use a
Yeah.
3D printers. All right, well, let's get into the meat of this here. And there's like what, 5, 6 categories I've earmarked here for us to talk about because these are the ones that I think we can speak to the most. And why not start with the visuals? Let's start with the artwork and presentation, since that's the thing that gets you to stop and look at the game in the first place, right? Harrison,
Yes, you
I'm
were
gonna
looking for me to agree. Yes.
yeah, thank you. It's a little late, but I'll take it. I'm gonna read all of these nominees here, and we can just chime in on our picks. Okay. Artwork and presentation. So we got Arcs, the Fellowship of the Ring trick taking game from Maj, Harmonies, Kelp, Shark versus Octopus, Let's Go to Japan, Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle Earth, SETI Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, Unconscious Mind, Wondrous Creatures, and Wormspan. I actually played a lot of these ones, or seen a lot of these ones. What do you think? What do
So
you got?
I've not seen it, and like some of these I haven't even heard of, which makes me kind of embarrassed. Yeah, like what is this wondrous creatures thing? I've not seen
Oh,
or
really?
heard this, but it looks
Oh, man.
really pretty. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
see why
It's like,
this got nominated.
yeah, that's a really good looking game, too. It's kind of like a little Pokemon sort of vibe to it.
Oh, cool.
What'd you pick?
So I mean, there's a couple that I'm super big on, and this one that I think are just like not only gorgeous to look at, but also just feel good to touch and play with. And
Mhm.
I mean, you know what my favorite on this list is, but you said you want to talk about it, so I'll talk about Let's Go to Japan. And I played this game once, and then you got me a copy of it so I could share it with other people, and that is fantastic. It is such just like even the regular version of it is just so well laid out. The artwork is beautiful. The pieces are just satisfying to touch and move around. You've got this
Mhm.
cool thing that you've built at the very end. Yeah, it just every part about it sings, and everyone who tries this game is just like, yeah, let's go to Japan. I've also never played this game and not had someone at the table say, "Are they going to do other ones? Like, let's go to some, insert vacation destination here."
Yeah, I'm sure they
Yeah,
are.
the fact that like everyone that you teach this to has that idea just tells you something about the success of that game and everything it's doing right from it all starts with the presentation. Well, I mean, starts with the game design. Presentation does a great job.
Let's go to Gary, Indiana. Now, this game is a labor of love big time because they did not take any shortcuts with the art and production. And I mean, I think there's some reused art on cards, I should say. Maybe I'm misremembering that, but very minimal. Do you know, Harrison? Is every card is an original art, or is there some kind of reused stuff?
I I don't know for sure. I thought there were a couple cards that were pretty similar
Okay.
artwork wise, so there might be some repeats in there for like the east and west versions of a certain shrine or something.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Well,
feel like there were a
yeah.
couple duplicates, but
In any
that
case,
doesn't detract from it
yeah,
anyway.
no, it doesn't. The point I'm trying to make is there's a boatload of original art on these cards and all over the board in every other aspect of the game. I mean, including these ceramic bowls that you get as an as an add-on. So yeah, this is artwork and presentation, and I think it like definitely knocks out the presentation, and the artwork. double double threat there.
Now, Corey, I got a real question for you.
Yeah.
Do you think that a game can make it on this list if its deluxe version is the only reason it is? Like,
Um,
pretend Let's Go to Japan basic version felt like cheap paper and all this stuff, but then
like the
everyone
production
likes
was crap.
right, like pretend Comic Hunters was on this list because it had a deluxe edition that looked like Let's Go to
Yeah.
Japan. Do you think that would still
Yeah.
be valid? Do you think people would still vote for it?
Well, artwork and presentation. Presentation is really vague, so I think production is a big part of that. So I don't know. It would definitely be a knock against it if it was Comic Hunter level. I mean, come on. Yeah.
What's your pick? What's the pick that you wanted to talk about more than me?
Okay. Well, so yeah, that would be Harmonies, and I think it's undeniable that this game is like. I mean, the artwork is incredibly unique, very vibrant and exciting, and all of the bits and pieces are just amazing to go with it. And this is once again an affordable game. It's not like you're paying for a deluxeified version, but it has that deluxeified feel to it because every bit and piece that you put on your board is a chunky wooden disc with images painted on it. And yeah, everything about this game just feels premium.
Hmm.
And once again, unique. There's nothing that looks like Harmonies out there. This is like every card looks like a tattoo that you could get on your arm.
Yeah, this is just a gorgeous game from the big like tarot sized artworks of different animals and their style that they've got, and those discs are so satisfying to touch. And then you've got a cool thing that you've built. It's got great table presence. Simple enough gameplay. Excellent. 10 out of 10. No contest.
Yeah, this category is fun because and I think they really did knock it out of the park. Everything on this list is like, oh yeah, I can see why that's on there.
Hmm.
Fellowship the Ring trick taking game. It's that cool stained glass Lord of the Rings stuff. I love that. And then they've even got Duel for Middle Earth, which is the Vincent Dutray artwork, which is also he's like one of my top 3 artists on board games of all time. I don't know who's gonna win this one, but they're all
We're
deserving of it.
we're working with Vincent on a game right now, and let me tell you, it's
Oh,
good. Oh man, I love seeing Vincent artwork and
yeah,
getting to see it before everyone else. It's so
so
special.
good.
It's so cool.
Okay, next category, cooperative game. All right. The nominees are The Seventh Citadel, Agamonia, Bomb Busters, Dead Cells, the roguelite board game, Fate Forge, Chronicles of Khan, the Fellowship of the Ring trick taking game, The Gang, Leviathan Wilds, Primal, The Awakening, Slay the Spire, the board game, Tidal Blades 2, Rise of the Unfolders, and Wilmot's Warehouse.
You know what I'm seeing here?
Yeah.
I'm seeing 3 games that are based on video games in the cooperative game
Yeah.
section.
More than
Right?
that.
It's just 3? It's Dead Cells, Slay the Spire, Wilmot's Warehouse. Is there another one?
Isn't Primal, or what is Primal? I don't know what that is. It
Uh,
has a very video game look to it, but maybe it's not.
yeah, I don't. It looks like it wants to be like a Monster Hunter type inspired thing. So
Yeah.
maybe that's where you're getting it from. But no, I don't think
Okay.
it is.
Okay.
But yeah, that's kind of cool. We've done a couple episodes about the crossover between board games and video games, and to see those kind of games finding a more uh, solid space in the co-op genre, in co-op games, because that really resonates with people. They want to take these cool solo or these, single player experiences in video games and share them with their friends. And I think the co-op version of that is really resonating with people. That's cool.
Yeah, and I did look up Wilmot's Warehouse today because I was curious about that one. That's got a really cool look to it too. That's one that the Shut Up and Sit Down guys had a hand in. Did you know that?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, so that it's like a cooperative memory game.
So Matt Lees and, oh gosh, I think it was Paul before he left. No, it's definitely Matt Lees.
Okay.
He had like another YouTube channel called Cool Ghosts, where they did like video game coverage specifically, and they did it in a very stylized, like almost television episode type thing.
Uh,
And he only did like 2 or 3 episodes before they stopped doing it, because I think it was just a lot of work for them. But one of the episodes was about Wilmot's Warehouse, or featured that, and went well before the board game was out, and they were like just a huge fan of it. So I went out and I
mm.
bought the video game, and man, the video game's weird and hard. But yeah, it's a cool thing.
Yeah.
So, man, we are good at rambling on here. What's your
Yeah.
what's
Okay.
your pick? What are you excited about in this category?
Well, to be fair, I wanted to pick Slay the Spire, the board game, but I also want to talk about Dead Cells, the roguelite board game. So that's the one I picked just for the sake of this podcast. But we all know that I love Slay the Spire. I've just talked it to death. Dead Cells board game, cooperative game. I mean, I think this one actually captures the roguelite feel really, really well in a board game setting, and especially the like kind of fail forward element of it, where you, I don't know if that's the right word, fail forward. You get done with a run, you don't make it, but whatever you've done in that run has contributed to your success in the next time you go at it. And I think that's a
Mhm.
big part of this. It's like, yeah, let's see how far we can push it. We probably won't make it through the first act, but we'll unlock something, some recurring ability that we have.
Yeah, I think my favorite thing about that one is that it doesn't feel like a run. They didn't Slay the Spire wants you to go one play is one run.
Yeah,
And this game is kind of really trying to separate that. Like your run might be 10 minutes. You might just make die the first combat. And then, well, I don't
yeah,
want to play all that setup and do it, a 10-minute board game. Or it could be super long and really tense. Or you might do a couple quick ones back to back. I really like that it plays with that idea of like what defines the start and end of a session of a game.
right,
So for this is like a campaign style game where you're not really have a set and end point. It's just how long do you want to play, right? And I think that's
exactly.
pretty cool.
Yeah, and whereas like Slay the Spire, it almost feels like a game that's designed to be completed in a couple hours. You can do the whole
Mhm.
run in a couple hours, and you could feasibly beat it on the first try. This one is absolutely not that. I think it's more like we're gonna have to get this group together once a month, and eventually by the end of the year, we might be able to complete the whole, the whole game. But I think it takes a little more commitment from a group to keep on trying that. So that may not be a good fit for everyone, but it is on BGA, and that's very easy to do with friends near and far. So would recommend it there.
The other one that I'm like really interested in, I haven't played it, but I want to, is Leviathan Wilds. So this
Mm,
is a co-op game where you are kind of like I don't know. It's kind of like Shadow of the Colossus. You're these little characters climbing giant monsters to try to battle them or save them or something like that. I don't fully understand it,
Mhm.
but it just looks like a really cool system, a fun theme with these huge fantastical creatures. I think they display them um, in like a storybook. So
Yeah.
there's a bunch of these monsters in here, which is a really cool take on how this game plays out. Instead of having a giant box full of miniatures and all this like crazy production. They just paid some wonderful artists to make these really cool illustrations of different monsters, and that can really change how the game feels play to play.
Yeah.
I,
This one
I at least
looks
I
looks like
hope
a
so.
video game. This is another one
So
that looks like it could be a video game,
yeah, yeah, I
like
really want to
Spyro.
check this one out.
What are those Spyro guys called? The Skylanders or something? You
Oh,
know what I'm talking about?
you're asking the wrong person.
Oh, this looks just like Skylanders to me. I don't know. Okay. So what was your actual pick, Harrison?
It was Slay the Spire, obviously. The,
Oh
the
yeah,
game
okay.
that game kicks butt, kicks rocks. No, that's the bad one.
Yeah.
This game kicks.
This game
Uh,
crushes.
Yeah, I said it before real quick. Just the fact that you can play Slay the Spire and have that cooperative element where you can actually cover different each other's weaknesses and have to deal with that element of it. It works very well for that. When I didn't think it was, I was going to be a doubter. I was ready to not like that game.
I think a lot of people were. Yeah. Good. All right. The next category is innovative or innovative, depending on if you're British or not. And the choices are Arcs, Bomb Busters, City of Six Moons, Fishing, Fromage, The Gang, Let's Go to Japan, Monkey Palace, SETI, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, and Wilmot's Warehouse. Some repeats on this list.
Yeah, they weren't too innovative in their submissions, I guess.
Yeah.
Hey. So this entire list is either games that I've heard of or games that I've never heard of, which
Yep.
now that I said that out loud, I'm
What,
regretting it because
what
someone's
else
going
is
to clip
there?
that and throw it in my face here. No. So there's like some games on this list. Like, I don't know what City of Six Moons is. I don't know what fishing is. I mean, I know what the art of fishing is. Uh,
Yeah.
uh,
The act.
I yeah, no, it's an art.
Oh, okay.
Somebody brought Monkey Palace to our game night last night because that's that Lego game, and it got mixed reviews in our group. Some people were like, "Oh, this is a really cool excuse to play with Legos." Other people were like, "Oh, why?"
Yeah. Do you think
um,
that's the innovative part in this one? It's just that it's Legos.
maybe, maybe I'm not sure. I haven't played it, but
Okay.
my pick here is I think well, I didn't really want to pick SETI because I want to spend more time with that one, but I know the gang is like that is just it's so simple and it shouldn't be innovative, but the fact that we're all talking about it and we love it, I think that's the cool thing there.
Mhm.
And it people game design is about cutting things and making things simpler. It's not about adding more complexity. And the gang is just so dead simple. I taught it yesterday in 30 seconds. It's
Yeah.
one of those games that you can teach while playing, which is fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like one idea. They're like, "All right, we're good. Ship it."
Yep.
And
Yep.
I'm glad they did because, like I've said many times before, it would be very easy to go overboard with this, and it would be much worse for it. I think it's great
Hmm.
because of its simplicity. Yeah, okay, I was tempted to pick The Gang, I love that game, but, I had trouble with this one. There's a lot on here, like you said, that I've never heard of, but I have heard of Arcs, and I've played Arcs, and I think the trick-taking element of this game is very understated on a lot of initial plays, and I think that it is a very cool idea, and really it is the core it's kind of the glue that holds this whole thing together. Which is a game that leaves you scratching your head when you get done with it, and I think that's the sign of some innovation because there's so many predictable Euros and dudes on a map games out there where you get done with them, you're like, "Okay, I've seen this before," or "I've seen this before and I'm already, like, pretty good at it. I know what I need to do in this environment." This one definitely leaves you thinking, "Man, I gotta do that again to figure it out because my brain can't right now." Just I don't you need experience with this new thing, and to me, that's innovation.
Yeah.
I know you don't have good things to say about this one, but
Well, no,
maybe you
I
gotta
mean,
play it again too.
I've played it twice now, which is more than I give a lot of games out there. Um, but I describe a lot of later games as they want this to be the game that you and your group play, and
Yeah,
thus there's always so much depth in those games, whether it's through like crazy asymmetrical factions or whatnot. And this game definitely has this. This game wants you to not only play it and explore it and experience it and try things and experiment, but it wants you to develop a meta and a a style that you and your friends play it with. And I just play too many games for that to work for me. So I
yeah,
ultimately think it's not for me. Um, and there's part of me that's thinking like there's this design idea that if you if you innovate, there's such a thing as too much innovation. If you do something that is
sure.
too new, then it's hard for people to latch onto. And I like trick taking games, but I'm not good at them. So that might have been another barrier for me too, because it just felt too different for me.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah.
Well,
Anyway, it's
peop
certainly innovative.
people are certainly latching on to this one.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of love for it. There's a lot of mixed feelings for it, and I really think it comes down to that trick taking. I think that's the big hook that takes some bit of learning curve to really get under your fingers. Okay. Anyways, we need to move on, and I'll go faster with these last three. We've got light, medium, and heavy game of the year. So light game of the year, we've got Bomb Busters again, Captain Flip, Castle Combo, Cities, Fishing, Flip 7, The Gang, Malem, Space Agency, Rebirth, and River Valley Glassworks.
Flip 7 all the way, baby.
Yeah, that's an easy one, huh?
Oh, it's fantastic. I taught it to my family. My mother, who does not play board games, instantly went out and bought a copy for herself and my brother. Like, well, I mean, tried to. It was out of print. Now it's a little bit easier to get, but yeah.
Nice.
That. Have you played Captain Flip?
Nope, haven't heard of
It's
it.
pretty cool. It's really cool. You are drawing tiles from a bag and putting them onto your ship, and then there all the tiles are double sided, and you don't know what's on the other side. But you
Uh,
draw it. It's got a character. You can either place it with that character, or you can flip it over. But once you flip it over, you have to keep it that way. So there's like a little bit of like a surprise moment because you took a risk on what the other thing might be.
huh, that's
Uh,
cool.
yeah, it's a super simple game, but it just plays really nicely. It's got a cool little catch to it. Yeah, I definitely check it out next time if you get a chance.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I have played quite a few of these on this list, and I have to say, this one was hard because I didn't see a whole lot of them I was very excited about. And I love me some Reiner Knizia. This is like the Reiner Knizia category here. He's on here, what, twice, three times? And both of those Reiner games are not my favorites. But there's Castle Combo, and that one's just fun. That one's just pure fun, and it's the same thing as we talked about with Citizens of the Spark. Where you get that kind of tableau synergy combo experience in a very small and succinct package, and that's all Castle Combo is. It's just draft a card, put in your tableau, score points because of what the other cards say, and it's fun. It doesn't have to do too much. It doesn't have to be innovative to be a good game, and that's exactly what it is.
I feel like we've talked about this one before. Do you have this one?
Nope, it's
Okay.
on BGA though.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's where you mentioned it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool. Cool. Yeah, I look forward to checking that one out sometime.
yeah. Alright, medium game of the year, Endeavor, Deep Sea, The Fellowship of the Ring, The Trick-Taking Game, Fromage, Harmonies, Let's Go to Japan, The Lord of the Rings, Duel for Middle-earth, River of Gold, Slay the Spire the board game, Windmill Valley, and Wormspan. This one, on the other hand, is very difficult. Lots of good games on here.
Yeah, I think this is the category I've actually played the most from.
Yeah.
I have not played Duel for Middle Earth or the Fellowship Trick Taking Game. Oh, I haven't played Fromage either, but I got the rest of them on there.
Mm.
Yeah.
You played Endeavor?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that's right. I told you that, and I was going to talk about it on the podcast, and then I forgot to. Whoops. I played Endeavor. I'll talk about it some other time.
Okay, yeah, Okay, what'd you pick?
So I
Did I steal
this
yours again?
category, I think like the number one first comment on this on the whole Golden Geek thing was like, why is Harmonies considered a medium game, and why is Slay the Spire considered a medium game, or whatever? And
Yeah.
these are all subjective things. And this is kind of why I push back on like the idea of the complexity rating on BGG, because it's all crowdsourced and there's no person is measuring by the same metric. It's not like,
Right.
does this game have a certain number of components or take them on a certain time to play or teach? It's all just like what people feel. So
Yeah.
my mother doesn't play games is probably going to think that Harmonies is a 10 out of 10 complexity. But you and me know that that game is easy peasy, nice and breezy.
Mhm.
So to have like that and Slay the Spire and Windmill Valley all in the same group feels kind of weird. But that being said, answer your question. I like Harmonies. I like Let's Go to Japan. I like Windmill Valley. That game is just super satisfying. You get to turn the little wheels around. You got these two little water wheels that
Mhm.
are gears that lock into each other. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. But what's your pick?
Windmill Valley.
Okay.
I mean, it's actually Harmonies,
You
but I
can't
see
pick
you
3.
wrote you wrote that down. You wrote down Harmonies. So
Yeah, well, it's to take a page out of Harrison's book. I like Endeavor Deep Sea. I like Harmonies. I like Let's Go to Japan. River of Gold's good. I love that one. Slay the Spire. Oh, good game. Windmill Valley. Yeah, I pick Harmonies too.
I
It's just like undeniably like an amazing board game design with great production and great art, and it's like I don't know what more you can ask for. They really
mhm,
just knock it out of the park.
yeah.
Yeah. All right, cool. Heavy game of the year. Andromeda's Edge, Arcs, Black Forest, Civolution, Ezra and Nehemiah, Inventions, Evolution of Ideas, Inventors of the Salt Tigris, Men Nefer, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, SETI, and Unconscious Mind.
I've only played two of these.
Oh, really?
No, three of these. Sorry. Played
Yeah, it's
Arcs,
Civolution now.
Civolution very recently. So recently I forgot. Uh,
Yeah.
and SETI. And I think when I did my initial voting on this, I'd only played two, and I put SETI at 1, and I put Arcs at 10, and then I
Mhm.
didn't vote on anything in between because I didn't play them. I'll go back there and I'll put Civolution somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
So SETI for me, sure.
Yep. This category has the most games that I was disappointed with, and I won't call any of them out, but I've spoken about them on previous podcasts. I will say the one I like the most is very likely to fit into my top 10 this year, like of all time, and that's SETI, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. I mean, I have a hard time with that word. But I really enjoyed that one, and for very many reasons, it's one that I'm constantly thinking about. Whenever I have a busy day at work, I'm like, man, I just like to go home and play some SETI. I don't know what it is, but that's my heavy game of the year, and probably my overall game of the year for 2024 as well. What would
I'm
be yours, Harrison? Overall,
from this list, I don't probably Harmonies or Flip 7.
yeah,
But as you and I were talking about before the call, there's a couple things in here that came out last year that are not present. And it's an absolute travesty that Panda Royale is not represented
ah,
at all.
yep,
Also my fault because I forgot to submit it as a nomination because I don't know, I just can't think of every single game at all times. Uh, yeah, Panda Royale. What a great game.
yeah. And while we're on the topic, there, shout outs. I'm not going to go through all of them that I originally listed, but I played Skyrise last week, and I'm actually surprised that didn't show up on any of these categories. It's listed as 2024 on BGG, so it seems like it's eligible. But that is a good game. I was definitely impressed.
It's probably number 11.
Yeah, probably. All right. Well, I think we skip our what have you been playing, watching, doing this week because we went long. Well, instead of doing that, we're just going to plug. That's what you do at the end of the show. So if you're listening to this and you made it all the way to the end of the episode, that means you must enjoy some of what we're talking about. And with that comes an urge, maybe a desire to share that with us. And you can do so by clicking like, subscribe, or commenting on the podcast player or YouTube of your choice. So thanks for doing that. It helps. And guess what? No, guess
Oh,
what?
you're talking to me now. What?
I just maybe thought you played around. We've reached the end. So the only thing we have left to do now is to say thank you. Thank you. Adam and the Analog is Corey Murphy and Harrison Dunn. Original themes and bumper music by Corey Murphy. reach us at adamandtheanalog@gmail.com. Thank you for listening.